Are we ready?
Yes, we're ready to go.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Binghamton City Council Business Meeting for Wednesday, September 7th, 2022. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
liberty.
justice for all. Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Clerk, could you do a roll call for us, please?
Yes, Councilman Scaringi is absent. He's on military leave. Councilwoman Bresnetti. She also appears to be absent. Councilwoman Riley.
Present, and thank you for the emails. We received the agenda, you guys, at the packet.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Friedman.
Present.
Councilman Burns.
Present.
Councilman Scanlon.
Present.
And President Strawn.
Present.
That's 5 here with 2 absent, Scaringi and Bresnetti.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll now ask for the approval of minutes from the August 25th, 2022 business meeting. Councilman Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand and ask for approval of the minutes from August 25th, 2022 business meeting.
We have a second? Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we do not have any public hearings tonight, so we move into the public comment section of our meeting. Mr. Clerk, will you please tell everyone how they can participate in public comment this evening?
Yes, if you would like to participate in public comment, please click the raised hand button via Zoom and leave it raised. We will allow you to speak one by one. You'll have 5 minutes. And please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton. And currently we have no hands raised. Okay, we have 1 hand raised. It's Tina Chronopoulos. I will now allow them to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Marvelous. Let me just find my stopwatch. Great. So my name is Tina Chronopoulos. I live on Laurel Avenue in the district that is currently not being represented by Sophia Resiniti because she's absent tonight. I wanted to talk to you about a bunch of things. One of them is the repairing or the repaving that is currently taking place on State Street, I believe. And this has been going on for quite some time, several months, I believe. And I got a chance to speak with at least one small business owner on that part of the street, and they have talked about how the repaving that worked there has severely impacted their business, their day-to-day foot traffic as well as regulars have not come in. Their earnings have gone down. That is partly because parking has been available as well as general access has been very difficult. So I wanted to ask what the city has done, if anything, to support those small businesses. I don't think that you've done anything, at least according to this business owner, which is especially disturbing since we have some folks on city council who are always banging on about how small businesses make the city, how small businesses make the city go around and be alive, and how especially my council representative, who of course isn't here tonight, is a supporter of small businesses. Well, if you are supporters of small businesses, what exactly are you doing to help those small businesses on State Street who have seen their earnings tank? And if things don't improve quickly, I'm really afraid for what's going to happen to them and their employees. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is this database of complaints about code violations that Jared Graham announced when he was on the campaign trail last year. I'm curious to know whether anything's going to happen with that. Are you going to do it? As you know, and you have been told many, many times by different people in the community, that housing and particularly slumlords are a real issue here. And I think it would be helpful if you made such a database available to the public, whether it be students, whether it be local residents who are trying to find housing, or those who are moving to Binghamton, so that they can get a sense of what sorts of code violations are being filed and who those landlords are. Again, I talked about this previously, but I'm going to talk about it again. The proposed zoning law that you are hoping to put on the books seems meaningless to me, particularly because the code department, as it is constituted, doesn't have enough employees to tackle with what's going on to begin with. And we know from the way that you generally vote is that you keep funneling money towards the police and quote unquote keeping our streets safe. But I don't really see how this proposal or anything else that you've done will actually provide folks with safe housing in this city. And there was one more thing that I wanted to talk about, which is escaping me right now. So I shall cede the floor to anyone else who might be out there. Thank you for your time. And by the way, it would be really nice to see who's in the virtual room. I know that you are not required by law to show your faces, but I do find it a little bit disturbing that all of you are just sort of hiding in the shadows there. So this recording is going to go up on YouTube and we won't be able to see who you are. I mean, maybe my Zoom is on its last legs. This is certainly true for my computer. So forgive if this comment isn't helpful or useful. In any case, thanks for your time. Take care.
Okay, currently we have stakeholders with their hand up. I will allow them to speak.
Check. Can you hear me? Let's see. Can you hear?
Yes, you have 5 minutes to speak. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city.
Okay. So can you have somebody post that link in on the stakeholders page and everything? All right. Yeah, really anyone, just get it out there so everyone can get in. We have several people who are trying to call in right now. Let's see. I'm going to read the press release for today. And I would just like to add that I think it was incredibly disingenuous and sneaky for the city council members to decide to have an in-person, to cancel the in-person meeting to effectively silence the community on this issue. So for immediate release, the housing crisis in Broome County remains the #1 issue impacting families throughout the region. Yet local governments have consistently put the profits of landlords ahead of well-being residents. In a weak response to the years-long public outcry against Binghamton's endorsement of predatory housing policies, Mayor Jared Cram recently proposed a zoning law to restrict student housing in certain designated districts throughout the city. That zoning law is ineffective and easily bypassed. Despite Cram's promise to get rid of predatory landlords and housing development companies, quote, the city of Binghamton continually fails to enforce existing laws meant to protect tenants. We've seen this time and time again. Landlords have cut water off, cut power off to families with multiple children. That's illegal, and nothing happens. They arrest maybe one landlord a year, if that, and meanwhile, families are suffering. In Binghamton, landlords also benefit from an archaic property assessment system that allows them to collect millions in student rent while driving local residents into slums and houselessness. There are properties 1 block from here that generate $3,000 a month in student rent, and they're assessed at $80,000, the houses. So that means they're just generating millions and millions of dollars, but the residents in the area and the families can't even afford to live there. They won't reassess the houses because the landlords benefit from it, and the city has made a deal with apparently these landlords that's lucrative for everyone involved. So they pay almost nothing in property taxes. Since many of these landlords don't live in the area, the money doesn't even come back into the community. Mayor Cram's proposed zoning legislation will not stop landlords from displacing residents and does not even attempt to address the majority of housing issues unrelated to zoning. The stakeholders, which are a housing justice advocacy group in Binghamton, have repeatedly proposed legislative measures that would begin to mitigate the housing crisis, because this is a long process and we really need lasting legislation. And here's a few of those measures. Since the city council doesn't seem to be willing to listen to them, I'll read them to the community. We believe there should be an immediate and significant expansion of income-based public housing exclusively, this is the important part, for low-income renters and extremely low-income renters. It doesn't work if we put up a housing complex and 10% of the units are available for low-income renters. We need to establish rent control within city limits. This isn't unprecedented. Right now, landlords are consistently raising rents, doubling rents, not even giving proper notice to the tenants that are in place right now. We need to establish an eviction diversion program. I've been to so many evictions where young mothers, children are just being kicked out by local law enforcement. It's disgusting. Eviction needs to be an absolute last resort. And frankly, I don't even think eviction should be legal because children deserve homes. We need to legalize occupation of safe yet abandoned properties by houseless residents and Binghamton tenant union members. I rented from a landlord recently on the South Side who told me she'd rather have her units empty than put in tenants because it drives up the prices. So she bought 3 buildings, rented out 1, left the others empty. We need to fund community-based organizations like stakeholders, like CNY Fair Housing and the Southern Door Community Land Trust, instead of funding these real estate development companies. We need to enforce a rental registry, rental licensing, and certificates of compliance so we can keep track of the bad landlords, which is essentially all of them, but also at least monitor how they're abusing residents in the county and the city. And lastly, code enforcement is useless. They either need resources or they need to be abolished. It has to be one or the other, because right now they're not assisting to enforce the codes, and that's what they're supposed to do. It's in the name. So the stakeholders planned this rally. Thank you for attending. This is an ongoing problem. We can't keep being triaged for the community. Stakeholders are doing incredible work behind the scenes, trying to just help families and people. There are people not even a mile from here living under bridges, living in squalor because the city has not acted on this. So this is a crushing problem. It's the #1 issue in this community, and it's something that, frankly, we're exhausted with addressing, and we demand legislative change. If not, be prepared for a rent strike, because it's coming.
Okay, the next person with their hand up is PJ. We will allow them to speak.
Yeah. Oh my God. Sorry about that. I'm just going to reiterate what was already said because I think it's important. Code enforcement, I'm aware, sometimes doesn't enforce the code because they're aware if they enforce it currently, they would be displacing tenants. I think if you want to pass a new code law, you should make sure the current one works first. Thank you.
Okay, the next person with their hand up is Evon. We will allow them to speak.
Hello, my name is Malka, and I live on the east side of Binghamton. And I actually work for Citizen Action doing housing work. And I just want to say that being a person that's on the ground, there's really a huge problem that the city just pretty much don't really have enough resources to handle. There's a lot of tenants that I'm sorry, I have COVID, so I'm a little short of breath. I'm just getting over it. So the city don't have enough resources to tend to a lot of issues. I've worked with a lot of tenants that their landlords have been predatorily against them, hiking up the rent to push them out. They've also cut water off to residents. They've turned powers off. They've also threatened residents with weapons. We're trying to cause them physical harm. And a lot of the students are also getting pushed out the Binghamton City school districts because families can't find big enough apartments for them to move into. And that's a really huge issue. Building up 1 to 2 bedroom apartments is not putting a dent in the housing crisis. We need more affordable family housing, and we need to do something about the emergency shelter situations a lot of people do not have access to. The hotels are running out of beds. The Y is running out of bed, and they're giving people tents to sleep underneath bridges. And coming up with a legislation such as the one Jared is trying to come up with is not effective at all. There's been research in other cities that try to do the same thing, and it wasn't effective. The only one that was effective was in Philly, where they actually said there couldn't be student housing in a certain area in the city. So I would like to suggest that if we still have ARPA funds available, that we be able to use that to help the Southern Door, the community land trust, to acquire more properties like some of these abandoned ones that are just rotting, to help them get those, revive those, and make them into family housing. I think that would be a good use of ARPA funds to help with the housing crisis. Thank you very much.
Okay, the next person is 12. We will allow them to speak now. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
All right. You might have to walk, take a walk.
My name's Jay Woodburn. I live in Front Street. I'm really sick of the city not having housing available for families with more than one children. And I'm tired of the city misappropriating funds for their roof. Can you fix it?
Okay, we'll allow the stakeholders to speak now. And please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Mic check. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Hold this right to your mouth.
My name is Candace Ashley Henderson, and I just moved back up here from the city. I live at 24 Isabel Street on the 4th floor, apartment 248, and I've been having a problem. I've been having a problem with DSS since I was 18 years old. The budget's been $400 for one person. Forever the budget and DSS have not changed, and I cannot even afford affordable housing. I can't pay my rent. I still owe a NICEAG bill for like $600 that I cannot even pay for. The budget has been the same since I was 18 years old. I am 37 years old, and I cannot even pay my bills properly because the budget has not changed. For one person, it's $400, and a regular one-bedroom apartment is like $600 now. So it's like the budget in DSS is the budget on the outside is outgrowing the budget in DSS, and it's out, and I can't even shop off the economy the way I'm supposed to. And another thing, I can't find an apartment. I spent like I was staying at the Y for over 90 days, and they almost gave me welfare fraud because I was filling out for the same apartments, because everybody say a one bedroom is 600 or 575 and all this and all of that. And so there's people out here homeless because they can't even pay rent because of the budget in DSS. And I don't know, so this year I'm tired of living the same way. I can't even do nothing for myself. I can't take care of myself the way I'm supposed to. So I don't know what to do. Hello? So I don't even think he heard what I said.
We can hear you.
Okay, so that's what was my complaint. I've been on DSS since I was off and on DSS since I was 18, and the budget for one person, it has not changed. It was $401 the whole time for 18 years. Now a regular apartment is $600, and I can't even shop. I can't shop off the economy. I can't do nothing. Yeah, thank you.
We really are. Every time somebody calls us, we're out there trying to, help tenants. We're underneath bridges, passing out food, passing out medical cares every week.
Okay, now we will allow Emily to speak. And please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Hi, my name is Emily Blakely. I live on the north side of Binghamton. I'm calling in today to talk about an incident that I experienced a few months back. There is a house in my neighborhood that was housing a lot of people. And this summer, it caught on fire. It burned entirely to the ground. A house straight across the street from me. There were parents, there were children. They lived in their car for at least a night in my parking lot. I wish there was more I could have done for them. The house is now gone. I don't know what happened to the family. This is not the first incident I have heard of families who were facing eviction, whose houses subsequently burned down. This can't keep happening. This is as distressing as it can possibly be. Thank you.
Okay, next we will allow Sam Whalen to speak. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
1 second. Might want to take a look.
All right, 1 sec.
By the way, this is why they shut down the meeting.
So, yeah, my name is Sam Whalen. I live in the city of Binghamton. I work in the city of Binghamton. I'm not going to say a whole lot. My goal is to put as much pressure on you as possible because I don't think enough pressure is applied. I have too many friends who struggle with rent, with their living situations. I have a friend who found a rat in his house today after waiting for weeks for it to be renovated for him to move in. But most importantly, I want to kind of motivate and inspire the people who are here outside today, outside at Hawley Street, to come up and say something, whether it's 5 sentences, whether it takes 30 seconds to say, because I don't want to just have a couple people speak. I want the whole crowd here to have something to say, just to make your job something that has maybe an inkling of effort to it, because I don't think there's any effort going into what's happening right now. Yeah, and as a Binghamton resident, I'm not a student at this point, so I'm a little worried about my living situation, even regardless of how much money I make. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, you know? I feel like people I know who've been out here their whole lives are being threatened. They're being put into places that are just uncomfortable for them, you know? But yeah, I was gonna come up and speak and just try to motivate people to say something. So that's what I want. I want everyone here, if they can, feel motivated to say something, even if it takes a little bit of time.
Okay, the next person with their hand up is Stephanie. We will allow them to speak. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city.
Hi, yes. My name is Stephanie Carluck. I currently work in the city of Binghamton. I no longer live there. I live in Johnson City. But I work at Southern Tier Independence Center and I work for a housing subsidy program. And I 100% know the difficulties of the housing market right now. The excess in student housing and in order to find any type of housing that might be either accessible or affordable for the participants that I have in my subsidy is nearly impossible. I have people who have been waiting up to 3 years to find a unit that is accessible for their physical needs and affordable for their income that they have. I work with people who are on Social Security and they cannot afford the rent here and to be able to live comfortably with the rent prices in this area. So I really hope that we cut down on the landlords that are exclusively marketing to students, because there was a meeting in 2018 of a housing committee that confirmed that there is an oversaturation of student housing in this area and appealed for the mayor and those responsible for our city government to do something about it. And nothing was done. The mayor is unresponsive to housing concerns, and there's been no real immediate action to make affordable, accessible housing available in this area. Thank you.
Okay, the next person we will allow to speak is Kenyon. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Yeah, my name is Kenyon Cavender, and I work in the city of Binghamton. And I can't tell you how many people I know personally where their landlord has forged documents, either eviction documents or code violation documents. And the cops have come, and instead of arresting the landlord, they retaliate against the tenants. And they do it with a stupid grin on their face. This is not just people complaining about life being hard. This is an active class warfare against poor people in this city. And you are enabling it, and you are facilitating it, and you need to fucking stop that shit.
Okay, next we will allow Todd to speak. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Yeah, my name is Todd. I worked in this town since 2001. This is the first time I've been homeless. And DSS won't help nobody. They give you the runaround. They're rude. They won't help you out at all. I mean, they need to change the people in DSS and have compassion for the people that are asking for help. You know, I've been on these streets for 3 months, and I'm doing everything I can just to survive on the streets. But people need to understand that you need the help. So thank you for letting me share.
And one other thing about DSS, I don't know if the city is aware of this, but DSS reaches out to activists and the stakeholders for our resources. And we're just an informal group of organizers. We have a budget of maybe $5 grand a year. DSS has access to hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they're referring homeless people to the stakeholders of Broome County.
Next, we will allow Julia M. to speak. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm Julia Mahar. I live on the west side of Binghamton. I've worked in Binghamton and throughout Broome County. I've worked with people who are elderly. I've worked with the homeless or the newly housed and people at risk for being without homes. Binghamton has a lot of students, yes. And we also have a population that is elderly and getting older. We have a lot of people who are chronically ill or disabled. And we have a lot of people who are poor and who have been poor for generations. We need to invest more as a city into adequate housing for all of the people who live here. Yes, the students from wealthier areas can come up here and have a great experience here for 4 years, living in really fabulous apartments. There are some really beautiful places down there, but they're not going to stay longer than 4 years. The people who've been here for generations still need some place to stay. The kids who are going to school here need to be able to go home and know that they have running water and electricity and heat and safe stairs to walk up to their house. We need to invest more into those people. We need to make sure that code enforcement is able to actually enforce codes and have codes written properly so that they can find the landlords, make sure that the stairs are safe and the heat is on and the water is running and the pipes aren't bursting in the winter. And that the people the seniors aren't freezing and getting sinus infections so much that their dentures are making them sick because their windows are rattling in the frames because their homes are so poorly insulated that they pay $900 a month out of their $750 of Social Security and whatever pension they might have left over from IBM. This is what we're dealing with here. It's not just about student housing. We really need affordable housing for people who are poor, under the poverty line, living at the poverty level. We need to take care of everybody who lives here, all of your constituents. Take a tour around the west side, please, Councilwoman Resaniti. Drive all over your district. It's pretty bad. Thank you.
Okay, next is Karen. We will allow them to speak. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
You gotta close the door. I don't know if you hear that.
My name is Karen Inman. I live in the city of Binghamton. I've lived here for more than 30 years. There was a time when I was pushed out of the city of Binghamton and had to move to Hillcrest because of the rents and stuff. Right now, my current situation is that I live with my 2 daughters and it's on the 2nd floor. I'm handicapped now. I have a lot of trouble doing the stairs and stuff. I can't carry anything up the stairs and I'd like to move to a place that's a little easier for me, which would also open it up for the fact that my daughter and her fiance, husband now, can't live together because they can't find a place they can afford. And that's just not right. And I said something to my landlord about maybe switching apartments between them and myself so that they could live together. And the landlord said, no, he doesn't want that. Because, her husband lives across the hall from us. That's not right. And if there's more senior housing, I'd be out of there and they would be able to live together without an issue. But I can't find a place to live.
Okay, next is Ryan. We will allow them to speak. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Yeah. Hi. Hi. Oh, wow. Hi. My full name is Corinne Visberry, and I work in the city of Binghamton. I am appalled at what you are doing right now. You are doing this so you don't have to look us in the face and look tenants in the face, the tenants who are feeling the effects of years and years and years of neglect from your actions and your predecessors' actions. And just, it's frustrating because you don't see it and you won't allow us to bring it to you because you do this. It's maddening. And you know, you misappropriate funds and you won't be held accountable for it. You won't be held accountable for anything in these positions. People who are listening, people who are watching, what do you think they're gonna do if they go? Anybody here who is running for another higher position? I'm looking at you, Sophia Resson Shitty. You and Fred Akshart belong together.
Okay, next we will allow Rose to speak. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Hi, I'm sorry, I was muted. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, my name is Rose Williams. I'm originally from Queens, but I've lived in this area since 1980. And at that time, this was a beautiful area to raise a family, to be able to find housing. You would see families everywhere. And as time has gone on, it seems like the city is only concerned with making the quick buck with transient housing for students. I'm pro-student. I mean, I'm retired from BU, but you can't build a community around people who are only going to be here for 4, 6, maybe 8 years. You have to give precedence to families, and families have children and multiple people. And if there's nowhere for them to live, how are you going to have a community? So that's my piece.
Okay, next we will allow Josh to speak. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joshua Samuel. I'm a student here at Binghamton. This is my 3rd year here. I'm also the president of an org on campus called NIPERG. We're a public interest group. We're here to support the community of the residents of Binghamton. And the reason we're here today is because of the stakeholders. They've made this event very popular. They made sure that we know about this. You guys shut us out from the building, but we're still here. And what I'm here to ask, I may not be as informed and understanding of the actual residents here of the crisis, but I've lived here for 3 years and I've seen firsthand how badly the people who live in this community suffer. And so I just have to ask one question. As government officials, are you here to make profit and to help the landlords and to make sure that students have housing who are here for only 4 years? Or are you just going to continue to look at all the residents here, all the families, the fathers, the mothers, the children who are unhoused, and just say that that's okay. Thank you.
Currently, there are no hands raised. Okay, our next speaker is Salka. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Excuse me, Mr. President, Salka has already spoken. She cannot speak again. Thank you. Salka already had her time. She spoke and she cannot now let us speak again. Thank you.
If that's the same person, then Mr. Councilman Scanlon's correct. We had somebody else log in from the same one that was a different speaker, so, but it looks like that they've logged off.
Okay, there are currently no hands raised.
Somebody's got their hand raised now, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, we will allow Malka to speak. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Hi, my name is Malka, and all I wanted to say was that in order to address this housing issues, we should get people on the ground who work with the tenants union and who are advocates and going through this stuff into a housing task force so they could help with resolution and coming up with things to do to fix this issue. Thank you.
Okay, currently there are no hands raised. We have one hand raised, it's Beth. We will allow them to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Beth Dutcher. I live in Binghamton. I absolutely hate public speaking, but I am pissed off. So you're gonna hear from me. I'm fortunate enough to be a homeowner, and I started volunteering for Binghamton Tenants Union because this affects my community and people I love. Because I heard about the deficit of affordable housing and the numbers are frightening. Like seriously, if this was my responsibility, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. How do you? I can't believe what I'm seeing. I've seen people living outdoors, losing their toes to frostbite. I've seen houseless community members harassed and their belongings thrown away. Is that how our police deal with this crisis? I've seen a woman living in her van and having the police impound it. That was all she had left in this world. Can you imagine? I've seen threatening letters from landlords trying to convince people they have to leave, hoping they don't know their rights. Landlords resorting to all sorts of illegal practices and nothing being done. This includes people who pay their rent. Disabled individuals on a fixed income. There are people who are afraid to go to work because their landlord might cut off their water. Can you imagine being harassed like that? I don't think you can. That's why we have to look out for each other. I also know a woman in Binghamton who found a place, saved up security deposit, first month's rent, paid to move all her belongings in, and 2 months later, after everyone in her housing unit paid their rent, they got a notice saying they have to leave. The new landlords want to turn it into student housing. This happens over and over again. Many times these landlords are paying less taxes than I do. They are buying dilapidated houses at auctions. Why is the county selling to these repeat offenders who do nothing for this community? I've seen people paying more than I do for my mortgage payment just to live in squalor because there are no other options. People with leaking roofs, and they have no place to go, so they deal with it and they pay their rent month after month. It's disgusting. Enough is enough. It has to stop. I'm terrified about what's going to happen this winter because there is no place for people to go. Do you hear us?
Okay, next we have Liz from BU. We will allow them to speak. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Hi, my name is Liz Wood. I live on the south side of Binghamton. And I am calling in to speak about the liability of Binghamton University as well as the city of Binghamton as corporations that are contributing to the housing crisis in our community. It's the partnership between these two corporations and their lack of action that is exasperating the crisis in our community and leading people to live in vans that are getting impounded, in tents under bridges. I'm a teacher, and if I could tell you every heartbreaking story of every student that I've taught who was affected by houselessness, I would be here all night. And we've got Binghamton schools that are in receivership. We've got schools on the verge of being shut down. And you're restructuring and doing all of this when these kids can't study. They don't have a place at home to study if they have a home. But you want their test scores to go up. Address the basic human needs that you are denying in our community. And then maybe your schools will be what you want them to be. Thank you.
Currently, there are no hands raised.
We also received a letter for reading into the record. If there are no hands, you do have record of such, right, Lee?
Yes, it was emailed in today.
I can go ahead and read that while there are no hands raised. Binghamton City Council, Wednesday. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay. Binghamton City Council, Wednesday, September 7th, 2022 business meeting regarding public comment. I respectfully request this be read into the record during the public comment portion of the September 7th Binghamton City Council business meeting. Dear council members, I want to bring to your attention recent challenges I've had obtaining copies of public record under the New York State Freedom of Information Law, or FOIL, largely due to what seems to be intentional obstructionism by the city's public records officer, which is a role performed by City Clerk Lee Rogers. For folks who may be unaware, the city clerk is hired by and serves at the pleasure of the majority on city council. Last month, I submitted 2 separate FOIL requests for some very simple documents. The first FOIL request was for a copy of the 2-page intent to apply form submitted by the city of Binghamton to Empire State Development for their Restore New York grant program. Applications were due August 11th, and applicants had to use their fillable PDF that ESD made available for the process. To be clear, this is a single PDF file. The second FOIL request was for a copy of the legislative database that the clerk's office has been managing for more than 10 years. Again, this is a single Microsoft Excel file. I even forwarded Mr. Rogers a copy of my FOIL request from 2015, in which I asked for the same file and a timely response from the clerk's office, which had the legislative database file attached. Apparently, when transparency was a goal, the clerk's office took seriously. Apparently, when transparency was a goal, the clerk's office took seriously. Again, what I requested under the law was a copy of a single file. Unfortunately, both times Mr. Rogers chose to intentionally delay and obstruct my access to public documents. Mr. Rogers waited until 4:59 on the 5th business day after my request, which according to New York State law is when local governments must provide an initial response to FOIL requests. In this last-minute response, he wrote, "The city is in receipt of your FOIL request. The city requires an additional 30 days to perform a diligent search and review for responsive documents pertaining to your request." I was disappointed and, to be honest, frustrated by Mr. Rogers' response. Each of my requests seeks a copy of one file, and there's no question that both of them are immediately available. I guess if I was a Republican council member requesting the city's Restore New York application, the mayor's office would have simply forwarded me the email they sent to ESD that included the intent to apply form as an attachment. It would have taken all but 30 seconds to respond. I guess if I was a Republican council member requesting a copy of the legislative database that is kept as an Excel file and managed by the clerk's office, I'm sure Mr. Rogers would have emailed it to me before the end of the day. It would have taken him less than 1 minute to open an email, attach the file, and hit send. But based upon his responses to my FOIL request, I think it's fair to assume that Mr. Rogers is selective and petty in how he chooses to carry out his duties as a public servant. His obstructionism is just more evidence of a multi-year pattern of this Republican-led council taking outlandish and unethical actions in an effort to intimidate, disparage, harass, and silence me and others who advocate for transparency and ethics in government, racial justice, accountability, and housing justice. Do any of the 7 council members believe in and commit to transparency and the simple premise that all Binghamton residents seeking services or information from City Hall should be treated equally? I hope all of you do, but actions are more powerful than words. I challenge this council to prove its commitment to transparency, New York State laws, and good governance. I ask this entire body to please stand together and demand better from your appointee and direct Mr. Rogers to stop the nonsense and going forward to carry out his legal duties as the city's public records officer with excellence and integrity. Thank you for your time and attention to the above matter. Sincerely, Tarak Abdalazim. That concludes the letter.
Thank you. Then we have Nicole. We will allow them to speak. You have 5 minutes, and please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hello, my name is Nicole Barek. I'm a student at Binghamton, and I was on Facebook just now looking for the link to the Zoom for this, and I looked at the Binghamton student housing page, and there was a listing posted just today for an 11-bedroom house in Binghamton with, I think, an $800 rent. And there are listings posted every day with $700, $800, $1,000 rent, and they just sit empty because landlords only want to rent to students, and they know that students can afford higher rent. And meanwhile, there's people who are homeless in Binghamton getting evicted every day, families struggling to pay rent every month. 60% of students in Broome County suffer from housing instability. And how do you expect children to do well in school when they're worrying about if they're staying in their home for the rest of the year? Binghamton University receives millions in funding every year. It's a top 100 college in America, and very few students at Binghamton are actually from here. It's time for you to invest in your community and the children here so that they can benefit from the university like all of these landlords and you do. Thanks.
Okay, right now there are no more hands raised.
I see some people on here, but I don't know if everybody's spoken. I'll give it just another minute. If we don't see any hands raised, then we'll proceed with our legislation. Mr. Clerk, I don't see any on here. Do you see any other hands raised that I don't see here?
No, there are no hands raised at the moment.
All right, we'll give just another minute and then we will proceed. Okay, thank you everyone for those good comments. We have a lot to discuss on this issue for sure. So we will continue with those deliberations discussions. For now, we will end public comment. We'll proceed to our legislative agenda. Preferred agenda tonight. Would anyone like anything removed from the preferred agenda?
Does that need a motion to close public comment?
No, that's only for public hearing.
No. We waited a couple different times, so I'm not sure. And we're not going to wait. Keep waiting. Do you see anybody down there, Viva, that wants to speak? Okay. Okay, we'll proceed to the preferred agenda. Would anybody like anything pulled from the preferred agenda? Okay, Mr. Clerk, will you please walk us through the preferred agenda?
Okay, yes. So the first item on tonight's preferred agenda is introductory ordinance 22-123, considered in the Employees Committee. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2022 planning and zoning budget to defund a part-time clerk position and fund a full-time planner position.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-123? Okay, please proceed.
Okay, next we have introductory ordinance 22-124, considered in the Finance Committee. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2022 DPW budget for lubricants.
Okay, would anybody would anybody have any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-124? Okay, please proceed.
Okay, next we have introductory ordinance 22-125, considered in the Finance Committee. This is an ordinance to amend the 2022 water fund budget and fund balance for increased chemical costs.
Okay, would anybody have any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-125? Okay, please proceed.
Next, we have introductory ordinance 22-126, considered in Finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2022 fire budget to fund gas, fuel, travel and training, and vehicle parts.
Okay, any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-126? Okay, please proceed.
Okay, next we have introductory resolution 22-75, considered in the Public Works and Parks Committee. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept a grant from the Broome County Community Beautification and Environmental Stewardship Grant Program.
Any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-75? All right, please proceed.
Okay, and the last item on the preferred agenda is introductory resolution 22-76, considered in the NPA committee. And this is a resolution authorizing the Dynamic Effects and Fireworks Company to conduct a fireworks display at Marabdo Stadium for Nitro Circus.
Okay, any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-76? Okay, thank you. I'll accept a motion to accept the preferred agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, could you do a roll call for us, please, for the preferred agenda?
Yes, Councilman Scaringi is absent. Councilwoman Resnetti is absent. Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Strawn.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes, 2 absent, Resnetti and Scaringi.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for that. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We will now proceed to our communication from our members. And we will start tonight in District 5 and Mr. Councilman Burns.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't really have much tonight. I'm looking forward to Luma coming up this weekend. It's a great thing, a great community event, and it's put Binghamton on the map, a different kind of a map, it's getting us our name out there. So it's very nice, and I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Burns. We'll now go to District 7 and Councilman Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to address my comments to Councilwoman Friedman. Somebody sent me some posts on social media that Councilwoman Friedman had posted. And I'm hoping she's going to tell me it wasn't her, because they're very irresponsible. She kind of twisted something around that we were never going to meet in person. I think I'll paraphrase her quote. There were safety concerns about a potential protest that would be happening. And that's entirely untrue. So I'm hoping Councilwoman Friedman will address these comments I made to her and clear the air. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Scanlon. We will now see 1, 2 are not here. So we'll go to District 3 and Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you, Council President. Before I go into my address, it is highly inappropriate to use our time to update the community on what's happening in our districts to point out and target another council person. I think that is inappropriate and overly egregious. We've called each other when we had questions, and you can still do that now. But I'll allow Councilwoman Friedman to address this on her own. But again, Mr. Scanlon is shifting the narrative. So let me go back to what I intended to say before that happened. I want to thank all of the residents, all of the students, and all of the people that work in the city that came in tonight to verbalize their discontent. Again, we were not set for live meeting. We as council were usually going into the chambers so that we can hear each other and receive our legislation on paper, what have you, but that was shifted. And I'm sure our council president can talk about what he shared last night as well. But housing is a major issue, as I've always said, and I thank you for these stories. I thank you for the residents that call because they're afraid to come to city council or call into Zoom to verbalize their concerns because they don't know what will happen. And these are homeowners. These are people that you, I guess, wouldn't typically suspect as having issues with code enforcement, the police, what have you. But they're intimidated by the processes as we have defined them. So they call, they don't write, and they want us to act on their behalf. So again, I live in the 3rd district. I represent the 3rd district. Zoning and planning will be discussing the proposal they brought to council on September 12th at 5:15. I have asked for a copy of the agenda so that we are aware and able to comment. during the public comment public comment section of the meeting, because again, residents in District 3 and those in the entire city have concerns about what is being proposed regarding housing, regarding the ability of single-family houses to be broken up into individual rental units by bedroom. And this will be the time to hear what they propose and then provide feedback. Again, September 15th at 5:15. That information should be on the website. Right now, there is no link, there is no agenda, but I will be working with the team to make sure it will be posted, and I will also post it on my Facebook page. Finally, it's the night before the first day of school for our children. Yay, me, my daughter's getting out of this house. But nevertheless, I just want to say kudos to BCSD and all of our faculty members and neighbors that are ramping up to receive our children. For those of us that will be out and about, that means all of these young drivers will be around and parking everywhere in the 3rd district. So let's be gracious, because we remember when we first got our licenses, and yes, my child parks right in front of our house, but still drives to school. It doesn't make sense, but that I digress. Again, I celebrate the students going back, and again, if there's anything we can do, please let me know. We will further the conversation on housing. Again, I shared some of the dates. I also stand with President Phil regarding future conversations and finalization of how this council will meet and determine how we will be prepared to receive our constituents moving forward. So we will finalize some of those discussions as well. Again, thank you guys. Have a good evening. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman Riley. And we will now go to District 4 and Councilmember Friedman.
Thank you, President Strawn. I'm happy to use my time to talk about social media. That's fine with me. I caught wind that there was going to be a large public participation presence at this meeting, which I love and welcome. I think that we should all be celebrating whenever the public comes to us with their concerns. I didn't run to be on city council as a resume builder. I ran for office because I legitimately wanted to make a change. And I'm very fortunate to be housed, but that could change at any second. And so when people bring concerns to me as a council member that maybe are not on my radar, I thank them. I say, thank you for bringing that to my attention. And so I have never said to any constituent that we are allowing the public back in person. I have never implied that. I have never posted that. I, in fact, have told any constituents that have asked that actually the meetings are virtual for the public to participate because we have legal considerations and we have security concerns. So first of all, to be clear, I have never invited a member of the public to come into the meeting. I have never implied that that was allowed. I have never said or implied that we were ready to have the members of the public come in. What I did was I posted updated information about our meeting as it came to me. I didn't call anyone out. I didn't mention any names. I used quotation marks as I was directly quoting information that was given to me. Security concerns about a protest. Those were words that were quoted because those were words that were said to me. And as a council member that tries my darndest to be accessible to my constituents, it's my due diligence to convey as accurately as I can information that has been relayed to me. I am really struggling to see how that was irresponsible of me. I would love for anyone to point out where I said something incorrect, where I said something misleading, where I in any way implied that this meeting ought to be open to the public or was slated to be open to the public, because none of that has ever happened. So I'm just kind of struggling to see how that makes me irresponsible as a council member. And in fact, to be honest with you, I think my behavior should be applauded, where I'm trying to make these meetings as accessible as possible to my constituents who are calling in about homeless residents who are losing their toes to frostbite. I know there's a particular bridge in my district that I know that people are living under, and I know some of their names. So that to me is more of a pressing issue than whether or not the meeting is in person or whatever. Okay, so again, to reiterate, the meeting was never supposed to be open to the public in person. I never implied that. I never said that. I never posted that. But what I think we should be focusing on is all of the concerns that were, I can't even say brought to our attention during this meeting, because they haven't been brought to our attention. We have known about these, and it's like I want to bang my head into a wall. The fact that it's like we know about these things, and yet, like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? I say this every time. What are we doing? Are we satisfied just letting people live under a bridge, live in their cars, live in mold infested, bed bug infested, unsafe houses where their porches cave in and people literally fall through the stairs because it's structurally unsound? That's what we're okay with? If so, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be a part of it. What an unethical way to do your job, to know about a problem and just refuse to take care of it. Oh, well, I guess you deserve to live under a bridge. That's the message that we're giving out by not actually taking a hard look at these concerns. Hello. So I hope that addresses your concerns, Councilman Scanlon, and everyone who might be watching who was maybe confused as to the blowback that I was receiving. Again, I'm curious. I look forward to anyone pointing out anywhere that I posted or implied or said anything that was untrue or misleading. On a happier note, it is Luma this weekend. Like Councilman Burns says, it's one of my favorite events of the year, and it does happen to occur in the 4th District. Very exciting, a huge event that, again, puts Binghamton on the map. My parents come every year. They drive 3 to 4 hours to come for Luma every year. So I am really, really excited about that, and shout out to the organizers of this event. It continues to exceed my expectations every single year. There are some ticketed events. I don't know if there are still tickets available. Most of Luma is free, but there are some ticketed events. So if the tickets are available and you haven't bought them yet, I encourage you to do so. And I will see you all out and about this weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Just a couple things. I just want to make sure, we could talk about this later at a work session or something, but I just want to make sure, at least I set the record straight from my perspective. First of all, there was a lot of great comments tonight. And for the most part, the comments were extremely well thought through and respectful, which I greatly appreciate. We have a lot of issues to talk about. We have started these conversations. We have a long ways to go. And my sadness in a sense is that I think there's common ground to start from on a lot of these things. I know there is. My concern, I don't want to say sadness is probably the wrong thing, is that part of this started under the wrong idea. One of the comments that was on, I'll read part of it. The council tried to shut us down by canceling their in-person meeting. That is absolutely not true. We did not try to shut anybody down by canceling the in-person meeting. That is not even, there's not even a shred of truth to that. Comments that were made could be misconstrued as to what they meant or their intention. But I believe there probably was opportunity to at least clarify that part of the record, so the conversation maybe could have started off on a better footing without that shroud of incorrect information. Was the rally, are we concerned? Am I concerned by not having, by having the meetings remotely and not having safety measures in City Hall to accommodate that when we have had people come in over several meetings over the last couple of months? Yes, I am. I'm concerned about that. City staff have expressed concern about that. City clerk's office expressed concern about that. Is it legitimate? Is it an overreaction? Maybe. But we have had people come down there that were not supposed to be there. When we make a decision to open everything back up and have everything in place, then we will do that. And that's not going to be an issue. As of right now, the governor has had this in place. We've been operating under that, and we had a good, robust discussion last night about this issue, and we're going to continue that discussion. But we are not prepared for a group of people. If small people are getting into the room, then a large group of people easily could get in there, and I did not want that to happen. We will put things in place in the interim to make that happen. But once again, until further notice or until it's posted differently on the city's website, the meetings are not open in person, but our meetings are open for everyone to comment like happened tonight. So that was excellent. And I hope that that continues. And there was never an intention to shut any of that down ever, not once. So I just wanted to set that clear. Once again, people reiterated good things going on this weekend at the stadium and with Luma. I hope downtown is bustling all weekend. Like I said before, a lot of fun things going on that are low cost or free to our residents. Like Councilman Riley said, school is starting. There's also an initiative that's appropriate. Broome County has done a good job having buses with stop cameras and things like that. Please pay attention to that. The fine is substantial, but the safety of our kids are what's really important. And I've seen the letters. You will get a letter and a fine automatically. So I know the county is really looking into that, and I think that's a good thing. So just be careful as kids are crossing guards in the city. Haven't seen that in a while. So just be patient. The safety of the guards and the children and the students going is most important. So thank you all for that. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Yeah, the point of could I just say one thing, and that is that with all the comments tonight, which a lot of them, as you said, were really great. We had started these code meetings, and we were all excited about it, that we were starting code meetings, and Councilwoman Friedman is correct. What are we doing? And we started these code meetings, and then our councilman from the first ward, he went, I guess he's on military leave or whatever, but the meeting stopped. So nothing's happened. Before we ever got to, the heart of the real problems that affect the people of the city of Binghamton, we're talking about jaywalking and things like that at these meetings, which were incredibly crazy, so we really need to have meetings. And there was one person that suggested that we bring in people, like I would like to bring in people from the YWCA, people that are out on this, that are out there, that can come into our meeting and speak to us and tell us what we can do to help. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councilman. Yes, I'm not in disagreement that with the Councilman Scringy going, we did lose some momentum. So let's talk on the next work session, how we can reconstitute that, maybe remove some, not remove, but move around some members and maybe get that rolling again. I think he's going to be back soon, but I agree that we have lost some momentum over the summer and with him leaving as the head of that committee. So let's make a point to try to regain some of the momentum and get those conversations going again. We'll be together a little bit more with these budget meetings coming up and things like that. So we will have some time to talk about other things as well and try to move that ball forward. So thank you for that. Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a great night. We're adjourned.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.